Hello and welcome to Mind, Mood and Food podcast with me, Margaret Bell, anti-diet powered coach and gut health expert, and my partner in crime, Adele Derbyshire.
Hello, I am a yoga teacher and creator of Find Your Inner Sparkle, which is a toolbox, 50 ways to help you to look and feel better from the inside out.
And today we're talking about stress eating and how you can really deal with it. So a few hints and tips along the way, putting you back in charge rather than the food being in control. And I know I did quite a lot of this when I went through binge eating, basically because one, I was going through grief. I had recently moved down to Liverpool, so didn't really know anybody as well. So I did a lot of stress eating around that point, and become very apparent to me that obviously a lot of people can do this, whether it's specifically to, as a lot of people do and I did, was to kind of not deal with those emotions at the time, to kind of push them aside and let food kind of self-soothe in a way, to almost kind of have the food give me a better mood. But in the long term, I knew that wouldn't last, because then once you've eaten whatever you're eating to whatever capacity you want to, then comes on the judgment as well.
The guilt.
Mhm.
Yeah. So you get that comfort blanket feeling initially, but it's soon followed by not so nice feelings. And I guess, does that lead to the vicious cycle of more
Absolutely.
eating?
Absolutely. It is an absolute vicious cycle, as I recall it. It's basically eat, repent, and repeat. So you're eating basically to really push those emotions down, not deal with them at the time, because it's stress is just let's be honest, it's a difficult thing to deal with. If you're stressed, you just want to get rid of it as quick as possible in whatever way you
So
can.
it's like food is, I suppose, a drug of choice, isn't it? Because some people may self-medicate with alcohol or, drugs or other things that make them feel better in the short term. But what you've just described is very similar in that, if you get drunk to mask the true feelings, or if you take a drug, or if you eat a lot, or self-harm, or all sorts of things that people use to do a release, that's short term, because it doesn't take long for that to wear off. And then it's not just that that's worn off and you're left with whatever you had before, but you're then also left with guilt feelings on top for what you've done.
Yeah.
So it's worse, isn't it, really? It's about finding other ways to manage those stressful thoughts and emotions.
Absolutely. It's definitely managing the stress and emotions, but also how you can actually, one, not let that guilt come into fruition to start off with, which I know may sound like a difficult thing to do, but there's definitely ways you can just let that guilt go, really, because I think when it comes to food, and I've noticed this quite a lot, we quite a lot of the time, I don't think we give the attention to food that we need when it comes to, our go-to thing when it comes to stress or comfort or whatever we use it for, apart from fuel. I think a lot of people are thinking now that, it's an acceptable way to deal with it. Because, over the last few years, we have been in such a difficult situation. These kind of things are on the rise, and I've noticed quite a lot of people say, oh, comfort eating, but don't seem to the attention that it actually deserves. Whereas when
Sorry,
it comes
Margaret, you were
to
just going like
the likes of, oh,
a little frozen robot then. So hopefully everyone caught that.
yeah, Hopefully you did. If not, I'll just reiterate that when it comes to food, I don't think we give it quite enough attention that we do, because in the last couple of years, with the likes of the pandemic, comfort eating and stress eating are very
Mm.
much on the rise.
Yeah, the
Um,
amount of people that say to me, you know, like, "Oh, I've put on a stone, I've put on 2 stone over the pandemic."
mm,
Um, I guess because you're in your house, so you're looking at the food a lot more.
mhm,
It's more accessible, isn't it? Whereas if you're out to work, you've got to like go out and buy something, or go to the cafe or the canteen or whatever it might be. But where it's just there in the fridge and it's very, very easy to grab.
mhm,
If you are having also on top of that those stressful thoughts because of the pandemic, because of what's going on, it's
exactly.
double-edged. It's a double-edged thing, isn't it? Where it's available, it's really on hand, and stress is
Yeah,
heightened.
yeah. And I think that's a good point to make, that food is available. Let's be honest, we can't really survive without food. But when it comes to like of alcoholism and being, using alcohol to alleviate stress, that is much more in the forefront than if we're using food.
Mm,
It's kind of almost accepted if we're a comfort eat. Well, in fact, it is accepted if we're a comfort eater, but I don't think it's given the same kind of prevalence. But at the end of the day, as you say, it's your drug of choice.
mm, yeah. I think because things like smoking and alcohol are, it's more obvious that the damage that they can do, to your liver and to your lungs and things like that. But, go back years, they were accepted as well, weren't they? Like in my mum's generation, everyone was
Yeah.
smoking and didn't even think it was bad for you.
No,
So
in
you
fact, the
never
doctors
know.
blooming actually even said, we recommend that you do, that you
Yeah,
recommend
deep
that you smoke.
breathing. But now, like, it's completely, it's all over the packets, and it's like nobody's not going to know that it's bad for you. So, I always live by everything in moderation. So I don't like to deprive myself of anything really. Not that I have, smoking or anything. Don't have the occasional ciggy, just to say that into moderation. But a glass of wine, or
Yeah.
things like a bit of naughty food. I know
Mm.
it's let's not call it naughty, but a bit of food that's more calorific, let's
Yeah.
say. I wouldn't deprive myself of that,
No, no.
but it would be on balance. And I think we were just talking before we started doing the recording there that I'm not as much relating to this one because it's not something that I do. And now we're talking about it, I can probably see why,
Mm.
because it's stress eating. If you've not got that other outlet for your stress, because of everything that I do with yoga,
Yeah.
meditation, breathing, oils, and all the tools that I've got, I would use them. So
Yeah.
I don't feel the need
Mhm.
to turn to the food. My with food is more that I just really like the taste of certain things, and it's like it feels good to eat more than I perhaps need to.
Yeah.
Because the amount you need is surprisingly small, isn't it?
Yeah.
That always surprises me, like you don't need loads
No,
of
no.
something, but it
Mm.
feels good to eat loads. So, if you've got a big portion,
Mhm.
I guess that's the thing with stress eating. It's like, when do you hit that um
That switch.
feeling of being full? Because
Mhm.
does that, like, what are your thoughts on that kicking in?
Mhm.
Because I think mine's broken, the thing that says you're full. So I have to like literally say, no, that's enough of a portion, because I think I
Yeah.
could eat and eat and eat,
Mhm.
which is not great. I know
Mhm.
some people, oh, I've only had a bit and I'm really so full. I think, how do they do that? But with stress eating, if you're like
Yeah.
feeling just everything's overwhelming, and you can't take any more, and then you just turn to the chocolate or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that trigger is even more damaged or diminished, or it's
Yeah.
not as easy to feel full because you're not
Yeah.
thinking straight.
Exactly. And I'm very much a believer in, if you're eating for other reasons than you're hungry, then you're never gonna fill that void with food,
Mm,
because it's not hunger that's driving it. It's emotions that's
yeah.
driving you wanting to eat. It's nothing to do with the hunger in your stomach.
Mm,
And when that
And if you
hunger,
kid yourself, because you kid yourself you're eating for hunger, I guess,
Mm.
to get rid of some of the guilt. You know, you're like, oh well, I'm just hungry, and you know, eating all the crisp or whatever, all chocolate, you're waiting for that signal that perhaps never comes, because like you say, you've kidded yourself that it's that, but really it's something else. So you need to be looking at how you fill that void of
Yeah.
something that's missing emotionally.
Exactly. And it's half the battle, I think, is actually recognizing what's going on
Yeah,
at the
I
time.
always say awareness is absolutely key with anything.
Yeah.
Because again, if you've tricked yourself and you're kidding yourself because you don't want to admit that you've got a bit of a problem,
Mm.
you know, nobody can really help until you are aware of it and you're admitting that, and then you can say, right, okay, hang on, you know, because then it would fit with what your choice of food is as well. So if you're eating because you're stressed, you're probably not taking your time and cooking a meal from scratch. You know, you're just probably
No.
grabbing something and yeah,
Shove it, well, yeah, literally shoving it in.
yeah.
I can't think of anyone that eats broccoli when
When
they're
they're
stressed.
stressed, yeah. Because I think, have we done one of these on chocolate, or did we say we were going to? Because we need to add that to our list. I was just, when you were talking there about the stress eating and the comfort and how those
Yeah.
fit hand in hand, because there are like studies on the chocolate. They're sneaky, those chocolate manufacturers, aren't they? And they do this
Yeah.
specific ratio that is like milk to sugar, you know, to fat. It's kind of like the perfect ratio that gives us that feel good factor, you know, the actual texture of the chocolate in our mouth.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
We should put
Excuse.
trigger warning on this, because if people are, I mean, if people are like, you know, really struggling with this, and we're talking about like how good chocolate tastes, it's going to kind of cause problems, isn't it? We might need to put a disclaimer up front.
Absolutely, definitely. Sorry if you do hear drilling, my
Oh,
apologies, people. I am getting the garage built at the moment, so
oh
there's
gosh, now
all
I can't
sorts
hear anything.
going on.
Do you know I was doing a live the other day, and then
Mm.
these people knocked on the front door and said, "Would you like your tree trimming?" And right in the front garden, right outside the window. And my husband was like, "Oh yeah, we'll have it done." And I was there trying to do this live, and I'm like, "I'm really
Brilliant.
sorry," because now there's a chainsaw. So I went into him, I was like, "Just a minute, I am trying to like do something in there. Just don't worry about it. Just yeah, let's do the tree." Because oh, I'm sorry, but they knocked on, and I was like, "Yeah, go on, just do it."
Yeah.
Anyway, I digress.
But yeah, absolutely. When it comes to the likes of emotional eating, stress eating, it's very much the kind of foods people go for are high in sugar, are
Mm,
high in carbs, because it's that instant hit
mm,
that you want, and that instant kind of, almost, if you think about it, euphoric feeling.
which does make
Mhm.
sense when we've talked about this is the drug of choice. So I think just the awareness, like what if we talk, this is kind of like the problem, but what's the solution? You know,
Mm.
if we've talked about this being a lot akin to taking a drug, or to reaching for a glass of wine and things like that, um, awareness is the first thing that I would say
Yeah,
you need to have before
absolutely.
you do any other action about it. Once you've become aware, what would you say? So right, you get somebody that's listening to this, they go, oh my god, that's me, that is what I do. You know, maybe they do it occasionally when they're overwhelmed and stressed, or maybe they do it on a regular basis.
Mhm.
What would be the top three tips that you would give to help them through that?
Yeah, absolutely. The first thing I ever get clients to do when they're having, let's just call it a moment like this, is to take just a second and say, okay, am I actually hungry?
Mm,
What is this food going to do for me right now? I'm not going to say it's going to work 100% of the time, because nothing does, but just taking a few seconds to either say that out loud or say it in your head really does bring you back into the room. Because when you're really eating for emotional reasons, let's face it, you're not really, your mind's not set on that food, your mind's not set on really what is actually going on. your mind is set to alleviate that emotion that you don't want to have.
Mm. And what
So
is this food going to do for me? You know, if you're looking at a bowl of crisps, it's going to do nothing nutritionally good
yeah,
for you at all. And it's probably not going to even fill you up. It's not going to satisfy any amounts of hunger.
yeah,
So it's going to give you a real short-term fix that's maybe going to last 5 minutes, because it doesn't take long to eat a bag of crisps. And then you know that you're gonna have worse feelings afterwards, because you're gonna then feel bad that you've eaten the crisp.
yeah,
Whereas if you make a healthy choice, when I say healthy, I mean healthy mentally. So if you're in a better place and you decide that, you know, you want to treat yourself to crisp with your sandwich at lunch or something like that, and it's not from that place,
yeah,
you know that you're having them, you know, just to
exactly.
go with your sandwich. You know that what the calories are on the bag
Mhm.
and what the nutritional content is. You kind of making a rational, I couldn't think of the word, a
Yeah,
rational choice there, aren't you? Whereas when you're in that stress heightened state,
that's when the irrationality
yeah,
comes in.
you're not making a rational choice. You just, so if that pause
Yeah,
is going to give you that space just to say, do I actually want to eat these right now, and
yeah.
what's it going to do for me?
And as I say, it's not going to work 100% of the time.
Yeah, sometimes you're going to go to hell with it. I'm eating the
Yeah,
crisp.
exactly. And it's knowing that that's okay, but making a mental note with yourself so that, okay, yeah, I did do that. What could I change next time? So I might make a different decision
Mm,
rather than going, oh, heck, I did that. I'm so crap for doing that. And that's when the guilt comes in. Switch it round and just, okay, it happened. What can I do differently next time for a
mm,
different outcome?
yeah,
So,
learning from those moments
yeah,
is better than beating yourself up with the guilt.
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, get that.
And kind of, I also get clients to kind of think of themselves as a third person,
Mm,
um, as in looking in on yourself. So you can really step away from the moment, um, and step away from that judgment as well. Because if you're a third party looking in, you're not having the judgment on your shoulders. You're actually seeing it for a more kind of just looking at it as at a different point of view completely, rather than being in the thick of the moment, which is
yeah, and would that work with what, you know, I teach people about the inner critic, and we've talked about the inner critic briefly on one of our podcasts in the past, but if you're looking at it as if you would talk to a child or a best friend, you
exactly,
then
yeah,
wouldn't use the same kind of harsh language. And I know that people that might be listening to this, and people that I've worked with in the past, do have problems with that kind of binge eating, and that then beating themselves up on top
yeah,
of that. So
mhm,
rather than just being in your own head, if you kind of step out and look back, look in, and what would you say to a best friend or a child that had, you know, was going through that same situation, that maybe did,
yeah,
you know, go for the crisps and eat not just one bag but three or whatever it might be, and then, you know, would you turn to your teenage child, for example, or niece, or, you know, or a best friend that's going through a difficult time, and use the language that you might otherwise use on yourself?
yeah, exactly.
Because we're not very nice to ourselves.
Nope, nope. And we all need to be a lot kinder to
Yeah,
ourselves.
really do. Like, kind and forgiving, and that's going to mean that you're going to do better next time. Whereas
Mhm.
if you really, really come down hard on yourself, that vicious cycle, it's being fed, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're just
And
laying the ground for tomorrow when the same thing's going to happen.
exactly. Start really being like a child as well. Really start, asking yourself, well, why is this happening?
Mm,
What is going on behind these feelings? Not saying it's going to be a nice thing, but the feelings and emotions are there for a reason. And the more you push them down with food, the more difficult it is going to be dealing with them. So isn't it better to deal with them when they're arising rather than start pushing it down with food again?
Yeah, I mean, that's a real yogic thing to do, to be again, coming back to awareness. It links to meditation. You know, if you do a regular meditation practice, you just give yourself that 5-10 minutes a day,
Mhm.
instead of pushing everything away and going, I don't want to listen to that, I don't want to feel that, I don't want to see it. It's allowing those things to come up and
Yeah.
bubble up and just be there, and then just breathe, because they might be uncomfortable, but that's the power of yoga and meditation. If you can sit with yourself quietly
Mhm.
and witness what comes up, even if it is kind of your shadow side and it's things that you don't want to look at, you can move forward then. You know, you can take that step forward because
Yeah.
you've been able to hold you as a whole entity, and not just the nice bits. You know, we don't like to look at our shadow selves, but the shadow self is where all the work is there to be done. It's where all the lessons are. It's where we can learn the most, and where we can, stop ourselves from being stuck
Yeah,
as we are, and moving forward and becoming the best version of ourselves.
absolutely. And the way I like to look at it is, do you want to be in charge, or do you want the food to be in control of
Mm,
you? You've got that choice to make.
mm.
Deep stuff today.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I didn't know we were going to go that deep. Yeah, so kind of like awareness and asking yourself those couple of
Yeah.
questions is a really nice starter for people. And if people are really struggling with this, because this one, I feel like sometimes, on the TV when they give that helpline, I feel like this one might be one where we need to say if you need extra support. So maybe in the first instance, reach out to Margaret, if you're really struggling with this kind of thing. And there may be also, helplines and things that you could advise
Yeah,
people of if they do
absolutely.
need immediate sort of support with it.
Yeah.
I'm sure Margaret can help you with that sort of stuff. So reach out, send her a message, or put a comment if it's not so urgent. Put a comment below if you're struggling with this and you just need a little bit of support. Then why not reach out and get it? It's one of those first things to do, is to get that awareness, and then to put your hand up and say, that's me, and
Yeah.
I would really like some help and support around this, because
Yeah.
it's really hard to do everything by ourselves.
Oh God, yeah. Absolutely. And I think making that bold step forward is a fantastic move to make.
Yeah, it's half the battle, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we are absolutely, myself as well. If I can help you with, obviously, yoga and mindset, that
Mhm.
goes hand in hand with emotional eating and stress eating. So do reach out. We are here, and we can absolutely help and support. If you have taken a lot from today's podcast, I'm sure you have taken a few top tips on how to deal with this. It is a tricky subject,
Yeah.
and it is, because it leaves you feeling kind of bad about yourself. So if there's one thing you take away from it, do understand that you're not on your own. There's
No.
plenty of people that do struggle with this, men and women, and that there is help and support available to you. You don't have to struggle on your own.
Yeah, absolutely. If the field of work that I'm in, this is one thing it's told me is, my goodness, you are not alone at all.
No, no. And so, it's normal. Like we're
Yeah.
just saying, it's kind of, it's accepted, and we said, yeah, maybe it shouldn't be as sort of the norm as it is, but that doesn't mean that it's bad, or you're bad for
No.
doing the behavior. It is normal. It's a human emotion to want to, I mean, we've not really used the word satisfy, but satisfy this need within
Yeah.
us. Like, that's what we're trying to do when we do this.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is completely normal. Do reach out if you need help and support, and definitely hit the like and subscribe button so that you will not miss when we release another podcast in a fortnight's time. So thank you so much, Margaret. Absolutely
Thank you.
fascinating topic today. I have learned a lot, and we'll see you on the next one.
You definitely will.
Bye
Bye
for
now.
now.